This is my number one reason why I love Salesforce as a platform. I I love reading, and I was randomly reading some RSS feed. There was a topic on creativity that was being talked about. What was being debated in that article is what leads to better creativity. And the options, there were only two options: an open ended, or basically a blank page, or a constraint or a box within which you had to come up with a design. And the conclusion, I'll just fast forward to the conclusion. The conclusion of the article was constraints led to better creative solutions, to an open-ended aspect. That was etched in my mind when I stumbled upon Salesforce. And Salesforce is nothing but a constant definition of the box within which you have to work. And that definition of the box comes in the format of these governor limits. And also with the thought process that our human mind has limitations on how much data that we can consume in one go. Google search is a classic example. If I query something, probably a million, 2 million results. But how many times am I going to that 50th page of the result or the 60th page of the result? There is no value for that unless I'm exporting that, right? If I have to export data clearly, right? I want the 200,000 results or 2 million results that's providing, because I'm going to take some action out of that. But if I have to actually go through and act on it, probably beyond the second or third page, it has zero value. I hardly go to that fifth page. I'll take an example of a member directory. Like customers sometimes ask, hey, I need a member directory. I have a million contacts, and the customer should be able to search through all the contacts. Search through all the contacts and list all the contacts at two different contexts. Salesforce has a limit. Like if let's say we walk that path, like, if I have to go through 2 million contacts and my directory has to list all of them, Salesforce puts a limit. Hey, you can only show, or you can only get to 100,000 records in one go. Clearly now you put in a constraint in a format from my 2 million, my search query cannot return more than 100,000 records. Is my end user going to go through these 100,000 records in a directory format? No, if I just correlate to my search format, they probably will go to 3 or 4 pages. So we have to encourage these users to filter that data further. Like, hey, what exactly are you looking for? And we get to that and get them to these 5-10 pages of data that they would actually go through to get some output out of it. That, as an example, is where everything is exemplified in Salesforce. What they want to make sure is you are designing a system that gives you an instant output without taxing the database beyond a certain limit, which is what is called as a governor limit. And basically your end users receive the fastest possible response from a platform. These governor limits are nothing but a box within which they ask you to think of how you want to design a process, right from what the end goal is that you want to achieve, but also to get to the end goal, what are the other ingredients that you want to make sure within the box. And also because it's a very unique architecture where they call it multi-tenant, which in a layman's term, it's basically 1,000 virtual machines in one machine, right? So if one virtual machine is allocated more resources, automatically other virtual machines would get impacted, right? So all these virtual machines are provided the exact same resources and made sure that nobody gets beyond the resource that's allocated to them. That's what the governor limit is. And you design these processes for the transaction to be efficiently, like you get from A to B in the fastest possible manner. And that's where these governor limits come into play. Why I feel creativity, why I started this whole talk about creativity is you really get to creatively design a process within this box. That's why I love it. I am always challenged to creatively come up with something that gets to the end result. It's still simple. It's still getting the work done.